Going for literally an all 7 pick, and we start with World 5, so unfortunately that's not going to happen, but we do start in 2-5, Chain Chomps in the Desert.
Yeah,
And
this one.
Deanna getting the business from a Hammer Bro March.
Yeah, this is kind of a make or break level for some of our players. Neomek, unfortunately, having another issue with that Koopa Troopa. Just a lot of things can go awry in this one, and definitely depending on the moveset that we have here is going to really play a big difference for our run.
Well, good news is the fort's not required. The bad news is that's 7-6, and we don't have a power up to get around that, so we gotta climb it.
Yeah, typically if they have the power up, they can use that to kind of clip through the door. Looks like Mini Guy's actually going to go back and maybe see if he can find.
Well, the Tanuki suit gives him two ways of going about it. He can do the clip, or he can build up enough P speed to be able to fly up to it. I've only seen one person do that, mind you, but I believe it was Mitch, or was it? It was a match involving Mitch and Proe in the 2019 tournament. As Midi Guy almost got burned in that second hand stage, but the item we get gonna be the same for everybody, and it's a fire flower, and that's a good one.
It's interesting to see the different options that they're taking. Neomek went ahead and took the Toad suit before even, or the Toad House before even going into the uh, the the tube, but it looks like he took a soft reset, realizing he didn't want to do an extra level that he didn't have to. It looks like he's starting to figure this out.
Yeah, sometimes you just have it takes a bit to get going with your first seed. That could be for anybody for any randomizer. But once you get going, it's smooth sailing. But what's not smooth is this 7-6 clip is giving both Human Mustard and DLP the business, as they cannot seem to clip through.
Leslie Pro, if you had told me that a couple of runners were going to have an issue with this one, I would have thought that the one with the mushroom or the one that wasn't quite there yet was going to have issues with it. But both of these players have a Tanuki. So I'm a little curious why neither one of these have actually used that Tanuki to fly over the level, get the P speed, and just go.
I honestly think that it's due to how tight the P speed window is.
I do agree with that. I think the only concern that I have at this point, though, is that they're actually now losing time as opposed to if they had just gone through the level, which is what DLP is currently doing now, decided it wasn't worth his time anymore. Meanwhile, we find Mini Guy, currently on 7-5, having just a little bit of problem with the enemy set. Looks like he's able to move on now.
Yeah, the other issue with 7-5 is that it's an Angry Sun 7-5. It's not the worst one, mind you, but it's still not something pleasant when you get towards the end of the stage. Now, here's a problem for him. Oh, there he goes. I was about to say he's gone through half his time, the stage timer, and finally gets the clip. My lord, that's rough.
Yeah, that definitely took a long amount of time. And as Neomek and DLP are both finding out, they're not having a whole lot more love within the stage itself because of the move set of the Flame Chomps and the Fire Tails. Fortunately for Human Mustard, though, I'm curious to see how this plays off with him having a Tanuki suit here. Because if he plays this right, he can actually fly through the part of the level that Midi Guy is working on now. Might be a little bit of a lead change. Also, he's going to be able to clip through this, not so much clip it, but he's going to be able to bypass the part underneath by using that tail, which he was able to do there. Unfortunately, he did lose the Tanuki suit, which means he'll have to go through the long way around now. Looks like he's still going to go for it.
Picks up a 1-up 2, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion with some of the modes that
Oh
we raised,
no,
but
Niamic taking a fall.
that's going to hurt.
That is not a fun feeling at all. 7-6 is a very difficult level to navigate. And this, boy. He had the right idea for stepping on the block moving left to go up the pipe, but unfortunately is getting hung up.
Human Mustard decided not to take the long way around. He said, screw it, I'm done with this. Clips through the wall to get to the ending tube. That was fantastic. What a great move by Human Mustard.
It definitely was. Now, what Niamic has to do here is use the exclamation not the pipe, is you would have to use the exclamation pipe block to go up and around in order to get through that. That is going to be one ugly roadblock.
Minigame is showing us which fortress that is, and that, of course, is Fortress from World 1. And Gimp Extreme in the chat brings up a very excellent point. This steed is definitely a rough start, and unfortunately, Niamic feeling the very, very unforgiving effects of that.
Yeah, this seed start is... This is not a good start for a first-time player. But then again, not a good seed is what I meant to say. What are words? But hey, that's the pains of working so many hours at work, but what can you do? Anywho, this is a tough start, but a runner can bounce back from this. I've seen it happen. Just has to get out of this rough spot.
Absolutely. You know, you're getting a lot of the tough ones out of the way right now, and hopefully he goes back and finds it. Looks like he's starting to get a better idea, except I don't know that he knows that he needs to use that exclamation point. We'll see if he can figure that out here in just a moment.
Meanwhile, MIDI guys on the airship, it's the World 4 airship. The power-up's not a fire flower, it's a star. And it's not a one-hit Roy, so unfortunately, whoa, it's a 5-hit Roy. Roy came ready to go here.
You know, as we take a moment and kind of let everybody kind of catch up and do their different things here, Human Mustard's going to be joining the airship here in just a moment. We'll be working on his way to World 2. Chat, which level is coming next? Which world is coming next? What do you think? I'm guessing 4 this time. I think we need to see some giant action.
I think he's thinking P-Speed maybe on the Niamic side. But, well, it was 3, and we've got 2 pipes to start. One of them's got to lead you out of this first section due to how the locks are placed.
So he did find one that puts him right next to a fortress, but it does have a lock in front of it, which may or may not mean that it's necessary. We'll see.
Okay, Niamic is on the next part of... Oh boy, that is an ugly setup for World 3.
It
we get
is.
6F1 to start.
And what's mostly scary about this is that we do have the possibility of a 3-fort required with the way they're currently routed and set up. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
We shall see, but meanwhile, Niamic is through 7-6. I almost said the wrong level, which would have been an oops on my part, but bad news is that that's the next level.
So it looks like the only thing that we can tell right now is that the 6F2 that MIDI guy was able to get through just there was not actually the one that was going to build the bridge to the next one. So he has either broken the lock in front of the castle, provided there's one there, or he's broken the lock in front of the other fortress. Looks like he's going to go try to figure that out now.
Yeah, there's also... Yeah. So right now, in turn to that end, it's a 50-50. And the random power-up is actually an extra 1-up mushroom. I'm not sure if Niamic's going to pursue that or ignore it. He's thinking about it. No, he's going after it. Considering the live situation, I can't fault him for that decision because you want to get as much lives as you can for these randos.
Yeah, and that's a no joke at all. I mean, there's definitely a certain sense of insurance that's needed in a randomizer. I mean, there's just so many levels that can go oh so bad. 7-5 we had an Angry Sun, which gets scary at the end, but a Big Boss Bass gets scary the entire way through.
Yeah, I was about to say, Angry Sun in that level is a little rough, but Boss Bass is just downright nasty. And from 3F1, we go into 7-4. This is going to be the nasty part here. See how he handles it. Oh, he gets over the sun. Makes. Oh no, I knew that was not going to end well. That's unfortunate.
Definitely
But as long as he
unfortunate.
keeps getting that 1-up, he's not going to game over.
I have thought that a number of times with certain seeds and certain matchups. You sometimes just need that one up to keep you going. Looks like Mini Guy is going to be taking a check here, see if the castle's open. It is. He's going to be working his way to
Wendy-O Koopa, the aka the one Koopaling you actually want a fire flower for, because this fight can get pretty gross.
absolutely, especially if she's a 5-hit Wendy. I mean, those 3 rings, they do not despawn. As soon as all 3 come onto the field, they just keep going. Fortunately for us, it's a 2-hit Wendy. No big.
Yeah, this time no big deal, but Wendy can often be the bane of a rando runner and for not just the rando community, but the speedrunning community of this game as well.
Absolutely.
You know what? Speaking of, I gotta reference this for the Toad and the Toad House. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but didn't the most recent update of Mario Maker 2 add the frog suit? Got an Angry Sun in 6-1. And it's a Starman 6-1 too, so you could hit that either of those coin blocks and get another star to keep going with a Starman combo through the whole level.
Looks like Neomech's going to be making his way through 7-5 yet again. See if he can figure it out this time. Hopefully he does.
I think right now it's less figuring it out, more of a how do you get all those blocks made without getting hit. He does find the hidden 1-up this time, so that's +2 on the lives.
DLP facing just a little bit of danger here. He's going to have to be a little mindful. Finds a mushroom. Going to have to go chase it down.
I honestly thought Niamic was through that time, but no dice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's going to have to go through 7-5 this time without a power-up. Hopefully, he can play a little bit safer and get through it this time. Looks like Mini Guy finding a boomerang. I gotta admit that I do feel for Neomech here right now. It's as a new player, and I'm still new to the community. Definitely, it's really infuriating, and it is frustrating getting on a level like this. But it's encouraging to see him keep going because there is an end in sight for this level, and I hope he finds it soon. I really feel for him.
Yeah, same here.
Mini Guy finding a flag where typically there is a Hammer Bro suit says, "No thanks, I'm on my way."
Yeah, basically that is the super leaf that is guaranteed to make Mario Raccoon Mario.
Human Mustard now joining MIDI Guy in World 3. Meanwhile, DLP will be right behind them, saying, I want to catch up too.
Oh, no. We've seen a lot of World 7 in the early parts of this seed, and now we've gone from the Piranha Alley to the Piranha Fort. Oh, lordy. You know what, folks? Next time I get the idea of rolling seeds, I'm going to quote the mask when I say, "Somebody stop me!"
I think after this seed, you're going to have at least 4 runners that want to stop you on that one.
Yeah, please, I got the link to the fast community already stopping me on that front. Well, actually, no, they don't have to stop me because I've basically stopped myself.
We see Niemek. Oh, unfortunate, just not able to get through that sun again. Really giving him some fits there. MIDI Guy finding the World 1 airship as he's going to be taking on Lemmy at the end of this, my personal favorite.
Got a hand stage that Human Mustard's running through. This is the Hammer Brothers stage, but the prize being a Fire Flower. DLP does find a hammer, and that could have some big uses down the road.
Now, typically, we would take this moment to say, okay, what does he have left? 2 has not been played yet. 3 has been. 6 has, well, he's currently in the middle of 6. But with this flag set, I'd like to remind you that the hammer does, in fact, break the lock. This is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. It could become a factor in World 7. If they can find an early Island 3 with a lock in front, they might just go ahead and bypass everything else and finish it off real quick.
Chat is bringing up that Niemek is constantly getting the one-ups. That is going to ensure he doesn't game over and have to play up to this point in the seed. However, what I've seen of this seed, oh lordy. Mustard taking a P-Wing into random fort, what it looked like to me, and that was a good call because it turned out to be 7F2.
Yeah, you definitely don't mind having a power-up going into this, and he was able to exchange it for a Fire Flower pretty quickly upon entering the level. Not a bad move.
Speaking of not a bad move, MIDI Guy opting to use the hammer on the lock in World 1. Well, one of the locks.
I want to circle back because I just realized something. MIDI Guy was using a frog suit at the beginning of this level, and Leslie Pro, we do have confirmation that frog suit was in fact added to Super Mario Maker 2, along with some other really cool things.
So I've heard, but I have been busy at work, so I have not been able to check that update out, regrettably.
DLP is going to be making his way through 7F2 here in just a moment. Meanwhile, Human Mustard working on the World 1 airship we saw a moment ago with MIDI Guy. Looks like MIDI Guy is going to be going to the World 1, well, the airship for this level, and we'll be taking on Larry in just a moment here. Looks like we got the World 6 airship with MIDI Guy, so should be interesting. Shouldn't be a too terribly tough of a battle, depending on how it works out with Larry.
Two-hitter.
Easy peasy does it, and now he's going to be moving on. Chat, what is the next world? I believe we've seen 3, 1, and 6 so far, as well as 5. Which one's next?
2.
I think we need to get some 7 action here. We've seen all the levels, might as well see the world.
Well, the only things we really haven't seen are 7, 1, 2, 3, 7, and 9. There's World 2, and it's got at least 2 forts, and we got to play this first one, and we're going underwater. It's 3F2.
Niemac still struggling just a little bit with 7-5. I've been there. I've done that. I feel his pain. But you got to just keep going. You just got to get through.
That we do. Like, there was a tournament seed in a past tournament. I do not remember which one offhand, but I will mention that it had a really bad 7-1 start, and it was like 20 minutes just to get out of the level. Meanwhile, Human Mustard's hitting the 3-7 coin heaven for an item.
A little bit of action with the coins here. He'll get a couple of 1-ups at least out of this, and not a bad thing. He's sitting pretty good with 8 1-ups now, but never hurts to be.
Meanwhile, it's worth mentioning that Miniguy DP is going through the most recent of the beta stages that was added to the randomizer, this one being the 1.6 beta.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to our developer who created that. Fred has done just a fantastic job with all this randomizer and everything else that he's done. But this was a level, if to my understanding, that he actually finished it off because in the original game and the original code, it actually wasn't put together. And he ended up finishing the rest of the stage, added a whole bunch of enemies, made it really exciting and interesting. So, kudos to Fred, man.
Absolutely. Fred's done a lot of great stuff with this and other randomizers he's worked on. Zelda 1 Rando in particular, I might add. Oh, and we've got 5-3 on Miniguy's side, so the seed keeps on giving. Oh yeah, where I basically said somebody stop me. I actually want somebody to go back and clip that because, yeah.
I mean, I got to commend you on that. That was a pretty good impression. So, yeah, somebody's got to go back and clip.
I've actually remember hearing some movie lines growing up, and that was one of the ones I had always heard. So I actually had an idea on that one. Oh no, the Koopa revives right in Niamic's hands.
We're getting a little bit of 2-4 action here from Miniguy. He's going to be burning through this here pretty quick. Manages to dodge that last hammer bro, which was actually a boomerang bro. No problem.
Good strategy by Niamic to go get the power up. But instead of running through, jumps up to see if that's an escape hatch. But no, this stage was basically known for really being the predecessor to Kaizo blocks, blocking your path. Well, not killing you, but you know what I mean. You think you gotta go through, but then you jump, coin block.
We have a little bit of a jet world here. Miniguy seemed like he just got to World 5 here, and he's already out of it. So World 2 is going to be a quick one for these guys. Shouldn't be too much of an issue at all for them to get through here pretty.
Oh, and one note for the 1.6 beta that I do remember hearing someone talk about. Can't remember who said it, but the goal area didn't have any floor collision. So basically, not having a tail and getting fireworks would equal certain death.
That's amazing. Neomaxillian with another one up there, just keeping his hopes alive. Chat, what are your next guesses for World 6? We've got 2 left. I believe we have 4 and 7. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to say 7-4. No, but it was 4-7. It zigged instead of zagged. Story of how the Zelda randomizers go more often than not. Different strategy here of using the pipe, possibly? Or, oh, wait a minute. I think I might know what Niamic has in mind here. But the white block runs out before that strategy would have worked too, but the timer on the white block expired.
Looks like we got a little Fort Knox action here from MIDI Guy TP. He'll be going through that here pretty quick and winding up with a Tanuki suit. DLP taking a little bit of what seemed to be unnecessary damage here in 2-4. Gonna have to play a little careful just to get through.
As chat points out, the coin hoard that's basically 7F1. If you're low on lives, that actually makes for a pretty good grinding spot with that P-switch.
You know, I used to do that all the time as a kid. The only problem is when you get caught and you don't give yourself a way out, then you're in trouble.
Not wrong there. I think I actually did that in a rando race once. Oh, and look at this Hammer Bro cheating on DLP's side by using the block as cover. Well, Fire's not going to get it, but with a raccoon tail, you can still just smack him right out of there.
We have DLP hot on Human Mustard's tail as he's currently going through the airship that Human Mustard just finished. And it's going to be interesting to see if we can get any kind of a routing difference as we still have 7 to play. It could be a change of lead. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, MIDI Guy making his way to the airship. He is on a roll tonight.
And we have got an earthquake in Big Mouth. It's like one of the few show references I still remember. Ooh, this looks nasty.
Looks like Neomek might be lining up a Koopa shell, hoping that he can get a little bit of a weapon on the Sun here that he's had so many problems with. And meanwhile, MIDI Guy going on to World 7.
But instead he gets himself. Oh, that is a rough break. Maybe holding the shell too long earlier, it made him worry about it, and most unfortunate.
I just jumped over real quick to take a look at the timers, making sure everything was going well there. Neomek is reaching out to some of our veteran players, seeing if he can get any ideas for the 7-5 Sun. Unfortunately, none of them have come up clean for him. Meanwhile, we've got Human Mustard and DLP both working on 7F1. Looks like DLP taking just a little bit of a lead here. Oh, I take that back. I had the wrong tube. Nope, Human Mustard with just a little bit of a half-level lead.
As we've got MIDI Guy in the Navy, and I almost said the Army slogan of be all you can be. Whoops!
I won't tell if you don't tell.
It's recorded on the internet, so yeah.
Well, at least we caught the difference before we actually said it. So, all good. MIDI Guy going through the Navy here. He's going to be moving on to the next part of this.
Which is the bridge.
Does find a bridge there. Unfortunately, the hammer does... Oh, apparently there was not a second bridge there. So he's going to be on to World 7's airship and taking on World 8 here pretty...
Whoa, good thing for the Starman start by Human Mustard. Otherwise, Boss Bass would have gotten a meal.
Yeah, there's nothing scarier than a boss bass except for maybe a sneaky boss bass. There are times where the boss bass likes to show up about halfway through the level. Looks like that's what happened here with Human Mustard. Great heads-up awareness.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Because it's that ambush boss bass that catches you like an RKO out of nowhere. And if you're not ready for it, or if you don't see it in time, there's nothing you can do.
That is absolutely the case. I've seen plenty of clips, and they're actually quite funny because I'm not the one doing it. Of boss pass coming in like nothing and just grabbing it and saying, "Yeah, you're done with this level. Try."
Oh, we've all been there, but the real question for World 8 is we've already seen at least one lock, so how many bridges between 0 and 3?
I'm thinking, with as crazy as this world has been, I think we need to see a two.
How rough the start of this seed was, I think a 1 or a 2 would be fitting. 3 would be even more so. Oh no, the Paragoomba caught him that time. And DLP has found 5-9 in World 7, is just gonna fly it.
Taking a shot there on 2-2 from Midi Guy. Looks like he's going to take the 100 coin fine, though, realizing that that's not the fortress he needs.
But I think Midi Guy's found the screen that he needs to be, except there is a tank that is 1-6, pays a 100 coin fine to get the P-Wing, unfortunately gets bopped, loses it, but keeps the P-Speed, doesn't go for the Superman jump, which is smart because with random enemy shuffle, that strategy is essentially out the door.
That's definitely a bad day waiting to happen. I want to make a note real quick. We had talked about previously a possibility of a shortcut with a hammer being used on the lock or something like that. What we failed to mention is that, and we didn't know it at the time, so no fault of anyone, is that Midi Guy clouded over 5-9, which is currently what Human Muster is working on a deal that he just finished. That is a huge time save for him. Heads up play for Midi Guy there without even knowing it.
Absolutely, and it was a 1 bridge 8, but not required, as Midi Guy is in Bowser's Castle.
Do we need to make a tally of that? Is it like a half bridge? Is that how we tally?
I still tally it as 1, but it's the rare 1 that isn't required.
Fair enough. Mini Guy using a P-Wing to get himself through here real quick. Should be able to hopefully get through here without any issues, except for maybe a laser at the end. We'll see what happens.
Or a fireball in your flight path. Anyway, here's Bowser.
In the vanilla game, I do want to shout out something here real quick. Go ahead.
Cool trick you can do, which is what Midi Guy's doing right here, is literally just duck, because Bowser's hitbox is like pretty much where his ego is, in his head.
Good call out there. And I do want to mention that the reason the Midi Guy had some issues there, in the vanilla game, you definitely see a pattern, and it's always the same, so anytime you do a run, you can expect it. Well, we've actually randomized the fireballs, we being Fred, have randomized the fireballs to where you now can take any path you want, and it may not be the same.
Meanwhile, get your GG's in chat for Midi Guy DP, who's about to cross the door and the finish line, and is finished with an official SRL time of 34 minutes, 19 seconds.
That is an excellent run for Midi Guy. That first world, wow, was the comment he gave, and I'll reiterate that. That first world, wow.
That first world has basically convinced me to not roll weekly seeds for a long time, regardless of the game.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm going to say I'm definitely excited, and and thankful that I was on this side of this seed and not in the.
Oh, for sure, no doubt about it. We are joined by Mini Guy DP, GG.
GG. That was a memorable one, if you ask me. That first world.
Absolutely disgusting first world, without a doubt. And seeing the Annex struggle with it has basically convinced me to not roll weekly seeds for about the next month, regardless of what game it is. Because it seems lately that whenever I roll a seed, it doesn't matter what rando it is. It's absolute butts. And meanwhile, Human Mustard has found the lost city of Atlantis and is like, no, thank you. Oh, that's a hand stage. That's gross.
Where was that, out of curiosity? I didn't see it.
That was a Dark Maze hand stage.
Oh, dear. Wow.
Mini Guy, I gotta give you a shout out, man. We were talking at the beginning of the stream that there was a possibility of hammers being used for locks, which we really didn't see in this. But you made a skip that I'm not sure you knew how heads up it was, but was fantastic and ended up saving a lot of time for you. At the very end of World 7, you actually skipped the Diagonal Doom 5-9. Any thoughts on that?
The seventh world you're talking about?
Yep.
Oh wow, where was 5-9? Oh, was it at the very end with before the final planet?
Yeah, exactly.
It was at the 7F2 spot.
Wow, I skipped that? Oh my goodness, wow.
I said the exact same thing. I was like, he figured it out. Skip 5-9. I mean, what better level to skip except for maybe Atlantis?
Jeez, that's crazy. I was wondering what level I skipped there, as well as the level in World 4 that it was in the level 4 panel spot in the World 4 map. I wonder what level that was. Do you guys remember what that one was?
Just got a breaking alert from Fiesel that I'll be talking about in a couple minutes.
All right.
So, can I get a repeat of that, just to be on the safe side?
Sure, yeah. What was where the in the placement of the level 4 panel for World 4, I skipped the level there too. Do you guys remember what level that was?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it is. But yeah, I felt like the planets aligned when I said, I'm just gonna go right here. There's a hammer, brother, just hanging there. I'm just gonna check it out. You never know. And of course, a hammer pops up. I'm like, wow, luck, wow. Oh, and if it seemed like I started a wee bit late, I had something I had to take care of, like all of a sudden. So that's probably why I started late. I don't know if I started really late or just a couple seconds late or something like that. But yeah, just in case people were wondering.
Yeah, it didn't seem that late to me.
Oh, okay. Good. I managed to hurry back pretty quick then. But no, when I saw was it a 7-6? And I didn't have any mushroom. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna backtrack to the mushroom house. Hopefully I can get something. It was a tanuki. I didn't want to try to clip through with the tanuki. I'm not used to it. So I literally went to another level to take damage so I can have less trouble clipping in 7-6, just being big instead. And I think it was worth it. Probably in the long run it came to about the same.
Yeah, I think it worked out, but meanwhile, we've got finishers Rapid Fire, Pro A007, second place 37.35, 8 seconds after that, Paradox 64 with a 37.43, and on Restream, DLP 316 with a 38.26, and Human Mustard rounding out our top 5 with a 39.08.
Everyone, get your GGs out for both DLP and for Human Mustard finishing up.
GG, everybody.
I think Niamix figured it out, folks. He's taken out the angry sun. Now just has to go up and around, and he will finally be through this diabolical level.
Hopefully so. He still has a couple enemies to worry about here, but hopefully he can get through the Mimic. He does no problem. Has a couple more blocks. Hopefully we can get him through here. Mini Guy, I want to mention real quick, because you were talking about 7-1 there for a moment, or not 7-1, 7-6 there for a moment, and that actually did pay off in dividends, because you not only entered the level before or after everybody else did, you actually finished it before everyone else did. So you were able to actually get a little bit of an advantage, because Human Mustard and DLP, from what we could see, we're actually still working on that as you were able to get through and continue moving on through there. So well played on that as well.
Well, dang, that gives me a good idea of like how much time you actually have to actually possibly backtrack and try another thing, and maybe still save time in the long run. So that was a nice test in a way. I'm glad I did it for that reason as well. Cool.
We had a question in chat. Don the Nintendo Freak, we do still have Niamek, working through this. He's a new player, and I do want to give a call out real quick to this. You know, I feel for Niamek. He's definitely going through a lot right now, having to go through 7-5 with an angry sun. This just shows how really, really good these players are and how devastating some of these seeds can be. But, you know, super proud of him for getting through the 7-5 clip there, or 7-5 level there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just, there's nothing, that was just an absolutely brutal start. No doubt about it. And now he's having hitbox troubles with the Fire Bros.
Fun. Yeah, it brings back memories with the first rando I took part in. I think it was that level 2, but with the boss pass.
Yeah, I remember somebody that I follow and have followed for years had trouble with that, and I want to say it was a crowd. It was either a straight up rando or crowd control. I can't remember. The seed rolled 7-5 with boss bass.
Yeah. Fun. So brutal. There should be like a top 10 list of most brutal situations you can get in a rando, and that if that's not number one, and it's close, that's for sure.
It sure as heck is close, no doubt about it, as we've got Niamic now in 7-3. Careful where you slide, because apparently some of these enemies don't go down and damage Mario when you slide, which I find to be an interesting detail.
Yeah, I actually don't know by heart which ones do and don't, except for like Spinies. I don't know about Goomba Shoes.
I seem to remember those damaging me, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that announcement that was dropped in right as we were talking, I'll just read this off, as this one comes from Feasel. The next Super 16 race has been announced.
Ooh.
That will be happening June 20th, 12 noon Eastern. The games list for Super 16 will be announced tomorrow, 12 noon, on twitch.tv/speedgaming. And signups and information, I'm just going to drop a link in chat.
Folks, you definitely don't want to miss that. And what you also don't want to miss is any action from any of these runners. Go ahead and hop on over to their channels. Give them a follow. Show them some love. These guys work really, really hard on this to provide all the really good content that you see here. As I said before, MIDI Guy was the one that was responsible for putting this layout together for us. Show them some love. We definitely love the layout. We love the old school look with the new colorful feel to it. Show them some love. Give him some support, especially Niamek. He's definitely having some issue here. And, you know, just show him how much we love seeing what they do and seeing them play on this.
Many thanks, many thanks. it was a fun one to put together.
Oh, absolutely. And, well, next week, well, I'll let somebody else deal because, woo boy, this was a pooper.
Alright, on that note, I think I'll head off as well. And thanks again for having me for the race, and I look forward to the next one. And if for any final thoughts on the seed, I'm just gonna say that it was a really rough start, but then the planets aligned. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it because after that rough start, it seemed like things leveled out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, excellent job on the whole seed, mini guy. Really appreciate you stopping by. Well done today. We'll see you next time.
All right then. Take care. Was fun.
As always. And we did have one other finisher, Claris.com, taking 6th place with a time of 43:45.
Definitely nothing to be ashamed with, a 43:45. I mean, that's still an excellent time with this whole run getting started as it did. I mean, it's anybody's game up front, and it leveled off for Mini Guy, thankfully, and we saw a really fantastic run.
Oh, to bring up a question in chat, yeah, there were more than the 4. There were other runners that were racing off Restream as well.
Yeah, there's definitely only so much that we can do on the screen. We do have a couple more runners if you're ever interested. We do have a Discord out there. We are always welcoming new runners. I love to show off some new talent, as you saw with Niamek here. Kind of gives you an idea of what is going on in the community with it being active and everything. And we've had a wonderful race.
Absolutely, that we have, and we get ourselves a little something extra from one of the runners, which I always appreciate. Looks like Niamek's taking his time in 4-5, which is not a bad strategy for this level because the homing bullet bills can be rather daunting. You see them go by, you think they're done, and then they turn around and you're like, oh. Right.
That's a really good impression of how that feels, because that is exactly how it feels. Cranky Hero, the number of racers that we did have in this were 7 this time. We've had quite a few different runners, and we like to kind of alternate the different restreamers that we show here as well. But yeah, we like to give you guys a little bit of whatever we can. This time it was 7 racers, and we're always looking to have more.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. We definitely love seeing different skill levels in this community, whether it be somebody just starting out like Niamek or folks who've been around the block like Human Mustard and company.
I want to go ahead and turn it over to chat here for just a little bit as we see Niamek currently working his way towards finding Roy at the end of this one. Do you have any questions from any of the racers, any of the commentators, anything like that? Go ahead and shout them out if you want.
So while the Starman doesn't take down the Koopalings instantly, the Beans don't cause a problem. And speaking of problems, Roy just stepped right on Niamek, who is now out of lives, has to nail it on this attempt, or else it's going to be a... I'd rather not say, but yeah, anyway. The weekly race that we have here on Speed Gaming is always Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, there's also another weekly race that's held on Friday that starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is more friendly for our friends over across the pond in Europe.
Absolutely, and even it is a little bit of an earlier race. Sometimes that doesn't work for people based on schedule and stuff, but all skill levels are welcome. All racers are welcome. I had the chance of being a part of that one this week, and I had a blast. It's just a lot of fun being a part of.
It really is. But the only disappointment for me is that I'm usually at work at that time. But I have breaking news. Niamic is through World 1. Took a while getting there, but once he got past that hang-up with 7-5, he was okay.
We have a very relieved Niamic in the chat. He is already ecstatic about getting off of World 1, and with some of the levels we saw here, who can blame him?
Absolutely, that one was just, ooey, that was just rough.
Going to be working his way through World 3 here, looking to see what the fortress happens to have in store for him. We'll see if he goes back. Looks like he's going to take the Hammer Bro here. Maybe go for an early continue. Looks like
he's just taking the lives refill, which is completely understandable in that situation.
Absolutely, and with the added knowledge of knowing what's on the other end of the pipe, looks like he's going to go back now and actually take on the Hammer Bro. Maybe see what item they've got.
Just gonna check the other pipe, see how that goes. Now this path is 2 forts, and it would take him to the required pipe to get him to the end. He's gonna first play the spade game, try and get lives here. Ooh, excuse me. But the trick with the spade game is that you only get one shot at that. So if you don't get lives, you don't get lives.
Looks like we've got DLP currently working on another seat. You're going to find himself in, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're seeing a 7-9 here. See if he can get through here pretty quick with just a tail instead of the usual P-Wing we would see.
The tail does help here, with no doubt about it. You can just fly over that little first part and skip having to enter the maze from the bottom, which is what the game intends on you to do. Speaking of intended, some runners will actually go for a clips strategy where they will go for clipping through the pipes 4 different spots to get through the level that way. Oh no, Niamic missed the gold card and winds up eating a spiny egg as a result.
Unfortunately, Niamic playing a not needed level here from the route. And I mean, that's just unfortunate. You know, you're already nervous enough about everything that's going on, and then to have something like that, it really kicks you in the shins when you're down.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but he's continuing to fight through it. Also, speaking of announcements, there was another one earlier that was up in chat that I wanted to shout out, but oh yeah, there is a marathon coming up in June, where here's what it said, and I'll read it off now. The school's closed and families struggling Many kids are in danger of going hungry. Let's work together to help change that. We're teaming up with the charity No Kid Hungry to host a speedrun marathon from June 11th through June 14th, and submissions are open now at speedgaming.org/NoKidHungry.
Definitely recommend you get into something like that with the speed run, even if it's just watching, supporting, liking the stream, leaving it up while you're doing something else. Every little bit helps, every view helps, everything from volunteering your services and being a runner to even just watching the stream is so huge and really, really, really means a lot to everyone involved. Even just a view, a follow, whatever it is, share it out on social media. Really, we appreciate your support in that as well. Niemek looks like he's having just a little bit of an issue there getting through 1-1 with the enemy set, but in fact does make it.
Yeah, he made it through one of the tougher enemy sets for that level, the Piranha one. Thankfully, no Volcano Lotuses in that, but oh boy, that could have been nasty. First try on the fire, bro. And now for one of the more interesting levels, the Pyramid. Now this level requires destroying blocks to progress, so there's always one group of enemies that are not randomized here, and that's the Buzzy Beetles. That's because you need to carry a Buzzy Beetle up and break the blocks in the middle row, and then another upper row past that in order to proceed. So this level plays more or less like a maze especially for a first-time player, because, well, that's basically how it was for me when I was a kid.
Absolutely. I will always remember the first time I got a Nintendo Power Guide and I was actually able to see what some of the levels look like and think, oh, that's how you do it.
Unfortunately, Niantic gets caught by a falling Buzzy Beetle from the ceiling, and that is painful. Yeah, this one is find the right pipe, and he was on the right track. He does have to go through this level.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have to have a couple of practice rounds before the next week. And, the practice definitely helps in this because with it being a randomizer, you may know the game really well. But I've prided myself in knowing a whole lot of knowledge about the SMB3 game itself, and then I got to playing and actually started doing speedrunning and stuff. And even the randomizer, I mean, it just changes your perception of the game. It changes your overall mentality of it. And really for the better. I mean, the randomizer has done a whole lot for this community as well as the runners and the people supporting it. And yeah, I mean, it takes a whole lot of knowledge and effort to get into something like this. But, it's so much fun to watch and to play. A huge shout out to the Discord group for that.
Absolutely, and I can attest that to not only this randomizer, but a number of the other randomizers that I've played and currently do play. It takes a lot of knowledge to try one of these. To be able to run these constantly and do well, oh boy, that is something altogether different. And I have to say that I say I've learned some things about myself doing this.
Absolutely. You learn how frustrated you can get. You learn how incredibly infuriated things can be. But then at the end of the day, when you do things that are really cool, I had my chance to do a couple clips for the first time yesterday. And even though I didn't finish one of the races and another one took over an hour, I was still so happy with the different progress I had made on certain things.
I do believe Niantic is in 3F1. He has to go through door 6 here, not door 3, door 6.
door 3 could be potentially an option. A new player won't actually know how to do this, but there is a 1-frame clip where if you're able to press up and re-enter the door as soon as you go through door 3, you can actually flip back through and go directly to Boom Boom's room. It does save about 3.5 seconds. Unfortunately, the risk is just too great to doing something like this, though.
Well, it is, but, well, funny you should mention that. In the last tournament, one of my opponents in my group, Sharky2107, and myself, we were talking before our match, and we had an agreement to where we'd go for it once if it came up, and I don't know how or what my luck is with these things sometimes. Because sometimes I go for stuff like that, it doesn't happen. That time I went for it and I got it first try. It's like, is that race luck or something? I have no idea.
So what I'm hearing is you have really, really bad luck, it seems, when you roll seeds, but really, really good luck in the seed.
Well, if you want to put it that way, that works.
I mean, it could be reversed, depending on if you're a pessimist or an optimist, I suppose.
Because my luck with rolling seeds isn't good. Playing them, I feel I can hold my own. It's just that sometimes I miss it by that much.
Yeah, that's definitely true of a lot of the levels and even a lot of the worlds with randomizers, as well as any of the other routes that are played in SMB3. You miss it by that much, and really you hate to see it when that happens. But, I mean, just take Mini Guy's ingenious choice to use a cloud at the end of World 7, where he was able to skip 5-9, which is an auto-scroller, and was able to go directly to the castle and finish things off pretty succinctly.
Yep, sometimes those are the plays that you make. Sometimes it's just one play like that that can determine a race.
Absolutely. I mean, thinking back to last week, you were talking about the hammer making the difference, and that was in World 5. We actually saw a huge lead change with that, where Makover opted to take the hammer on World 5 and was able to clear a path to the fortress, which ended up bypassing, I believe, 3 or 4 different levels on that. Made all the difference in the...
Yeah, there's a 3-level skip, and it paid off perfectly. And I do believe Niemic has found the pipe. He's found the way out.
Now, I'm not at liberty to say, but it does seem like he got just a little bit of a hint in the chat. But hopefully he's able to get through here pretty quick and continue on his run in here just a little bit.
Yeah, what he's approaching is the Wendy fight, which this can be a daunting fight for your first time with all those rings, because I'm not even going to say it. Oh, actually got a good break with the RNG as she did a short hop instead of firing the ring right away, gets the second and final hit, and is on to World 3. Well, third world, but not the actual World 3. You guys know what I mean. And yes, the letters have dad jokes in them.
Now, I think we forgot to mention this in the stream, but I do believe we currently have a Fred, as we call it, in honor of the creator himself, where 6-1 is actually in place where 6-1...
Yep, unfortunately, Niemic missed the star and slid down the chasm. I will say, when I first started with the Link to the Past randomizer, one thing that helped me was watching other racers go, especially the top level racers. It gave me some ideas of what to do in certain situations, and I guess along the way I also picked up some execution tips as well.
That's a really good point. That's actually that's actually the way I got started in this. I was watching the finals back in 2019 for the Randomizer Cup that was being held there, and I started watching it and I really, really fell in love with it for that reason. And then I continued to watch these high level players, and I'm not one to back down from a challenge, so I'll challenge any of these guys. Any day, anytime, I'll challenge them, because ultimately what's going to happen is I'm going to get better, and that's just what you got to do. Neomek's taking quite a few hits here, but accommodate, or props to him. He's still going through it, still working hard. Was able to get through 7-5. Now he's already on World 3.
Yeah, oftentimes it's the first world that trips runners up, and that can go for any seed. And we definitely saw that here, but he's still going at it.
Definitely any seed, any runner, anytime, any place. I mean, you don't have an item inventory to work with. You don't have a whole lot of knowledge as to what's going on in this world yet. You might even still be getting comfortable with the flag set. I noticed a couple of runners in our chat and the Speedrun Live channel were talking about how they had forgotten it was an SMB Tourney 2. And what that means is that the Tourney 2 actually allows hammers to break locks, whereas the bracket flag set does not. So even something like that was definitely something to keep in mind. There's definitely something to be said for World 6 here. There are 4 pipes in World 6, which means obviously you have 2 sets, and where those pipes can be will vary a little bit, but what they do does not. Obviously, one pipe will take you to the other, and so on and so forth. So anytime that you're working with the pipes in World 6, World 7, it will vary a little bit on what either the prize or the consequences for using that. So Neomek here is currently working on trying to figure out what those pipes do. Do they actually help them? And it looks like they actually don't. Even with one being behind the rock, sometimes you're able to jump far ahead, or that's the first one you find, and it just makes World 6 all that much longer.
Oh boy, here's the other nasty part of this seed. 7-8, the Piranha Alley, and then after this is 7F2. This is that is not an easy jump to make. You have to have running speed just to be able to make it up and over the pipe. It's like the developers knew what they were trying to ask of Mario players here.
And sometimes it's not so much what they ask, but what they demand of you with some of the movesets and such. Whenever you see a Piranha Fort or 7F2, the Piranha Disco Alley, it gets scary. And when most of the piranhas are the fire throwers, you're starting to just hope that you get through it pretty unscathed.
Yeah, at that point, my one priority for the level is survive it. How the speedrunners are able to just blast through that. Are you kidding me, game? That is a bogus hitbox. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Is this the part where we need somebody to come in and say, somebody stop me?
No, this is a case of where somebody throw a challenge flag, because that was a bad hitbox right there.
If you've got them, send your rudes in the chat, because that was definitely rude. So unfair for a Koopa Troopa to finally gain sentience and say, you know what? Nope.
And those fireballs did not help either.
Definitely not a level to take lightly here. Going to take a jump. He was trying to be a little on the safe side. Unfortunately, he is going to have to take a continue, and we'll have to start this level over.
The world over, too, I might add, which is very unfortunate. That was all from one hitbox that made a bad call. Well, under normal circumstances, we would have hockey and basketball playoffs going on where chances are there would be some terrible officiating calls made at some juncture during their proceedings, which happened quite a bit in last year's Stanley Cup playoffs, but still, if there were playoffs going on, I would have been making comparisons at that point. We got a 6-8 with a boss bass.
You know, I got a feel for Neomech. You know, it's any level that you have a boss bass pop up on that's not 3-3 or 3-8. You know, you get a little scared just instinctively. You know, unfortunately, that seems to be what happened there as well. And even if it's a level where he really shouldn't play a factor, you know, in your mind, he still can.
That is basically, now this is something that gives everybody fits. Boomerang Bros in water as Small Mario. They never jump up to the upper platforms, so you have to find a way to approach them from above and at least get the drop on one of them before trying for the other.
Looks like he's onto a good option here, looking for a hidden item. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find one. Going to have to get a little bit craftier than that.
There's the one on the outside. Now it's this one on the inside that's going to be the real pain to get to. Oh, and then the jump throw gets him.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and bypass it this time. A good idea here. Okay, he's going to go ahead and take the spade card. I was going to say a good idea here might be to go ahead and take that pipe, then immediately go back up. That way your marker is set there. That way if you die or if you wind up needing to play through a level again or even decide to skip, you're always going to be that pipe, thereby avoiding the possibility of a hammer bro being in your way again.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Oh, getting some nice moves from Neomech on that fire bro. Said, you know what? I'm good this time. Neomech contemplating the magic wing there, it seemed. Decided he's going to go ahead and take a fire flower. With this level, I don't blame him. I think the fire flower is a really good option.
The fire flower is definitely a good option here because it gives you a chance to at least mow down some of these piranhas that make this first part really tough.
And if nothing else, it gives you the chance to kind of damage boost some of the parts. There are a lot of items in this level if you know where to look, and hopefully he can find some. Unfortunately, losing the Mario there, making him Super Brother, but did find his star. He'll be able to make some pretty quick work for part of this.
And now he's slowed down and stopped. I don't think he knows about this pipe that he's in front of. And he definitely doesn't because he just sprangboarded off the big Koopa. Uh-oh, Micro Goomba. Oh, no, that was the worst spot to have that happen because I don't think there was much he could have done there.
Now, your options are really, really, really limited at that point. I mean, if Paragoomba hits you with a little spawn lane, I mean, you're already really hunkered down with what you can do between not being able to jump very high, not being able to run, and then he went in for the kill. I mean, that's just well played by the Goomba. Unfortunately for me.
Is he contemplating an out-of-the-way level to proceed? No, not quite. It is out of lives. Nope. I shouldn't have said that. I'll take the blame on that one.
You know, the one good thing about this, and I can speak from experience here, I started my first run about a month ago, and I will boast to say my PB at the time was a 2.5 hour race. I had a lot of issues with 7F2. I had a whole bunch of fire piranhas coming at me. And you know, the really, really cool part is that you do get better, even with runs like this where it seems like, you know, you start off with a bunch of really hard levels, you just have a whole lot of stuff coming at you. You know, it does get easier, it does get better, and we're going to see some improvement out of Niemek. I definitely expect that.
Oh, absolutely.
I found an interesting fact. DLP just took on the Boom Boom there with the star, was able to get there with the star and was able to finish him off. I found this interesting, and I found it out just a little bit ago. The reason that the runners take the star there is, yeah, it's definitely quicker. Obviously, you don't have to do the 3 jumps there. But the way that it's coded is that Boom Boom doesn't have necessarily a kill state. So what'll happen is the Boom Boom, when you jump on him 3 times, will go from 37 hit points down to 32, thereby triggering an animation. So it never actually goes to 0. Well, the star actually changes it a little bit because the game's not exactly expecting that. It doesn't really think that that's going to happen. So that's why instead of like the sequence here, as you can see DLP doing now, where it changes colors, takes a couple seconds, and then the orb happens. In the instance where a star is used, and we sometimes see this in a randomizer as well, it'll immediately disappear because the game doesn't know what to do with the code, and then the orb gets spit out upside down in the middle of the screen because it just doesn't know what to do.
Well, sometimes the game's hitboxes work in your favor because right there, Niemek wound up jumping on getting a hammer bro with a block, and triggered the kill box for the boomerang bro below it. Yeah, this game's got some weird hitboxes.
Definitely weird, but I think that's one of the character flaws that make us love it even more.
Well, meanwhile, we've got a hammer suit into 7-8. This is a pretty solid play because these hammers arc upward, making hitting a number of the piranhas much easier.
Niemek means business.
And he means to give these piranha plants the business.
Looks like we get a little Scarface action here happening here. Say hello to my little friend. Unfortunately, having a little bit of a problem. If he times this just right, he was going for a jump strat there. Looks like he's got the fireball to go up and times it right, able to get through here. Getting a star without losing any damage to the piranha there, so that's a really good start for him here.
Now, the interesting thing with the hammers is that the hammer speed is consistent with Mario's movement speed, so the faster Mario's running, the farther out the arc of the hammer.
That's a very good point, and that's actually one of the things that runners will do in the any percent and the any percent warpless. They'll take the any percent no wrong warp. They'll take a hammer suit all the way up to Bowser's Castle, and we don't see that a lot in the 100%, mainly because it's actually slower to do that with some of the routing. But here, the hammers do work really, really well, and my favorite to watch is 7F2 for that reason alone, because as they're going really fast, so are the hammers.
Unfortunately, Niemek missed a jump.
Incredibly unfortunate. You know, you're already so strong high with all the nerves and everything going on with a level like this. But, you know, sometimes you just miss jumps, and that's unfortunate.
Yep, happens to the best of us. And chat's pointing out that in a any percent no wrong warp run, there is no hammer suit, as they just simply put aren't in the route. The only real routes that it pops up in are the warpless categories. It may pop up in all forts or all peace switches, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Thank you for pointing that out, Polar Man. You're absolutely right. I got my routes or my categories mixed up. You're absolutely right. It's not the no wrong warp because you still do use the warp whistle to go from 1 to the warp zone into 8. And so you use both warp whistles there, thereby completely avoiding World 7 altogether. But at any percent, no warp is the one that's used for that. So, good call. Thank you.
And Namek is through 7-8. That was nasty. Now, I don't know if he has to play that level because that level is 7F2. Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't seem to recall if this was required or not. I don't know that we saw any of the players avoid this one, so it's hard to tell if this is going to be necessary or not. Looks like we might find out.
He's playing the alternate level, which is an understandable strat, which is 7-2. Now, you can get enough coins here via the P switch to trigger a white toad house in vanilla, but you need a frog suit to realistically have a shot of pulling it off.
Oh, taking an unfortunate bounce there. The only hole that he had, and that brick made sure he found it. He's going to have to try that again.
But on the plus side, he did get a 1-up, so he does have 1 extra life to work with, just in case.
Yeah, talking about the insurance factor, there's been times in runs, especially with the starts like this. Fortunately, he was able to get some 1-ups out of 7-5. And thereby was able to extend his streak a little bit longer there. And, finding a 1-up here is not a big deal. Even getting the cards, all 3 in the same order, the more experienced players aren't going to do that because it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 second runoff. But for, new players starting off, go for it.
Oh, no. Damn!
This seed, though!
Too hard required. My goodness. That is just the epitome of disgusting right there. And I don't think there's another fort to play in this world, so that 7F2 is hard required.
That's a you hate to see it moment, honestly, here.
Because honestly, I think the first time I beat this level was either using a P-Wing or a hammer suit. I do not remember which. Looks like he's measuring the jump, makes it. I believe he's trying to draw the shots of the fire traps so they're out of the way. Also, side note, I think he just now noticed that he had a mouse on the screen. That's unfortunate.
Mouse on the screen happens to the best of us, and actually kind of reminded me of some college professors I had.
I'm very surprised he didn't go for the peeling there, and that's the game over. Nice dodge of the angry sun there.
It seems I'm going to have to brush up on my all forts race category. That was one I'm actually a little unfamiliar with, I'll be honest. The last time I watched an all forts race was between, I believe it was Grand Pooh Bear and Mitch Flower Power in GDQ last year. So, Polar Man, I will take a look at that and see if I can come back a little bit well versed next time.
Yeah, it's a category that I don't see very often, quite frankly. And I know at one point, Ryko Ryder, another runner of the community, was also working out an all key switch route, and he did get it implemented, which, well, let's just say that's just a fun little category extension, to be honest.
There are all kinds of different extensions and different categories you can run in SMB3, and they just crack me up, the ingenuity and the different runs that people come up with. I was just recently introduced to Frog Any Percent. It's a modified category, and basically you start with a frog suit. Anytime you take damage, you end up as a frog. It doesn't sound too terrible until you realize that you can't run as a frog.
Unless you're holding something.
Yeah, that's a good point. You do have to be running something. Using that hitbox manipulation again for Niamek here. Seems like he doesn't mind this one too much. As Niamek continues to make his way through World 6 here, are there any questions from chat? Anything you would like answered? Anything you're not familiar with on the Rando run?
And we've got Niamek taking a Fire Flower into the Piranha Alley. And now that we know what we know about this seed, oh boy, that really is a disgusting place to have to play 7F2 in a spot where you couldn't skip it, you couldn't break a lock if you had a hammer. You have to play it to build a bridge, and that's just the worst.
Polar Man, I do definitely see where that could be a problem. Such levels like 7F1 would definitely, 7F1 Fort Knox would definitely be difficult to do Frog. But it would be interesting to see if somebody could come up with an SMB3 Frog friendly hack that takes you all the way to Bowser. Maybe modify some of the levels, or even like flood Fort Knox so that you could swim through it. The Rando flag set that we are using this time is what's known as a Tourney 2, and it's Tourney 2 actually does not allow the end card, which provides some different random items, but it does allow for hammers to break locks. Other than that, pretty much everything else is randomized. The bosses have different hit points, I should say, and there's a random allowance of who's going to have Earthquake and who's not. And actually, believe it or not, I was playing against Human Mustard in a Frog Any Percent run, And 8 fort actually was possible with a frog suit. It's just incredibly, incredibly difficult. And the only way for Nox to work as a frog friendly level would be to like flood it or something. It's definitely not frog friendly. Yeah, I definitely quit that one about an hour in after I couldn't get past the pyramid level. I was done with that.
Yeah, pyramid level and a frog percent is pretty disgusting because instead of breaking one block, you gotta break two just to proceed.
And when it's a fire piranha there that's shooting at you while you're trying to get the first couple blocks broke, it just sucks. Neomek having more issues with the angry sun on that last one. He does not like that sun, and the sun does not like him. Looks like Neomek going back to find an item here, hoping that it'll help him just a little bit get through. Unfortunately, going to have to use it now on the hammer, bro, as he doesn't want to have to deal with possible damage that would end him and require him to go back to, well, losing a life, I guess. He's not going back anywhere.
It's a hammer, which is normally good. Normally good. Not in this instance, because the hammers don't build bridges. If they built bridges, I honestly would have called that the perfect setup. But nope, not this time.
Yeah, that was definitely something interesting. You know, at the beginning of the stream, we were definitely talking about the possibility of a hammer being the difference in who won, you know, just like we saw last week. Unfortunately, this week, that has not been the case. I don't remember an instance where the hammer actually happened to help here. Even in World 7, where we would sometimes see the hammer come out, not necessary. Really, the only place we saw it was World 1.
I could have swore we saw a lot get destroyed in World 8 with a hammer. As well as one in World 1. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Polar Man, surprisingly, one of my most favorite levels is the Fortress. I actually really, really like 3F2. Something about it, I've always loved swimming through it, and when I was a kid, I used to love swimming through there with a frog suit. Those were my favorite levels. Love the frog suit, love being able to swim through super fast. Also a big fan of Fort Knox. It's a huge stress reliever when you're able to get a tail right off the bat and, you know, carry it on to the next level.
Oh, no doubt about that. 7-8, though, is anything but a stress reliever. It's a stress inducer. And the timing on that jump is just nasty. Now I'm just going to use the P-Wing here. Which is a great way to fly over an entire level. I'm surprised this wasn't used for Piranha Fort, but... well, it works out for this level.
A little bit of insurance to make sure you get through the level doesn't hurt. F1 is typically a good one as well. I do love that. Once you kind of figure out the strategy and the riddle behind it, it definitely makes for a fun fortress to get through. You know, one that I definitely look forward to, because that's another one where you could wind up with a really good power up as you're running through it. Sometimes in Randomizer it plays in your favor, or sometimes it doesn't. You know, you could wind up with a fire flower, a tail, or even a star to take out Boom Boom real quick if you can get there quick enough.
Oh no! Jumped over the rotodisc block and into the sauce.
the one cycle is something else on 8F1. I mean, that is such a great way to run the level, and it looks great. It feels great. It's really something good. I'm also starting to favor 7F1 and or not 7F1. That is Fort Knox. 7.1 and 7.6, and even 7.5. I actually clipped 7.5 for the first time yesterday, and I got to tell you, I didn't care that I was above 100 or 1 hour at that point. I was just so excited that I hit 7.6. I've hit 7.6 and then 7.5 as well, clipping through the wall leading to the next part. It really makes you feel good doing stuff like that.
Now, if there were only a way to clip through all of 7.5.
Yeah,
I'm being brutally honest there, because that's just one level where it's just like, game, why?
yeah, and it seems like more often than not, especially in scenes like this, you're going to have some enemy that will not let you go no matter what it is, whether it's a cheap Big Boss Bass or even the Angry Sun. I mean, those guys just don't want to let you finish the game.
Kind of like this part right here that Niamic faces, the Piranha Tunnel of Love, where you get this annoying formation and it is difficult to line up the timing for.
Yeah, it seems like an exponential issue. Like the more piranha plants you get that blow fire, the way scarier that it gets, and the even worse that the timing gets for it.
Well, Niamic is in the final part of 7F2, and with a drunken Hotfoot. Oh no!
Oh.
Hit by the Roto Disc! That was a very valiant effort. All around. And I will tip my cap to Niamic for one heck of an effort, but he has decided to call it a night.
Well,
Which I don't blame him for whatsoever.
Not at all. You know, he was handed a really, really difficult first seed. You know, we're obviously going to have to pick him up after this one, get him through some more runs, kind of show him the ropes and everything else. And, you know, we'll see him back. We'll definitely get him back here for another race at some point. Really appreciate him having on the stream. We'll definitely, you know, want to reach out. Definitely reach out to him on his channel. We can get the runners up here again. Give them all a follow. Give them a little bit of love. Tell them GG. Get some GGs out here for Niamic as well. You know, we definitely appreciate him stepping up and being a restreamer. You know, we wouldn't be anything without our racers, and we definitely appreciate him for that.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, that was a valiant effort, but that is just one rough level. Oh boy. Well, not just one rough level, a rough sequence of levels. Like, my goodness. So that, the speed gaming schedule, let me just see that.
The curiosity is getting the best of me, Polar Man. Which level is it? The level you were just talking about, the 69?
So the last thing on the calendar for today that's going on outside of an SMZ3 tournament match, as well as some Super Metroid Multicat, would be the Speedy Fist Marathon on Speed Gaming 2.
Always fun to watch those for sure.
Absolutely, for sure. But with that, I'd say it's just about time to wrap this up. Final thoughts on the seed.
I am definitely glad I was in the commentary booth this time and not necessarily a runner, because I think I would have had about the same luck that Niemek had here. Definitely a rough start from that. Well done once again to some of our runners, especially Midi Guy DP, for pulling out the win there. Been a lot of fun commentating as always, Leslie Pro. This has been Growl Wolf, and we wish you a very happy and safe night.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to do commentaries. I always enjoy that. And you know what? We've already said all that needs to be said about this particular seed. So with that being said, everybody watch out for Boss Bass. Stay safe. And we'll see you next week for another edition of the Super Mario Bros. 3 Weekly Randomizer series. Take care. Bye-bye.